The challenges facing our teens today mean that more than ever, we need to be there to support them and encourage them. The Dr. STEM Show is here to provide discussions about topics that will help promote healthy relationships, self-image, and success for teens, parents, and the community. Our young people can achieve more in life than they ever dreamed possible. The Dr. STEM Show, hosted by Dr. Stem Malatini, will foster these discussions and encourage your participation.
Welcome to the Dr. STEM Show. You know, there are not many opportunities that you have in life where you bring a guest for the second time because people have resonated with the message that she has, or they want more of the message that she has. If you remember, we had a segment where we brought the guest that we have today, Dale Stanton, who wrote the book, The Hooker's Daughter. I hope all of you out there now have your own personal autographed copy, because if you go to her website or our website and order her book and tell her that you saw this on the Dr. STEM Show, she will autograph it for you. We brought her back because many of you asked for us to bring her back and talk about her life and talk about some of her experiences and how she has been able to rise above circumstance. So we're going to call this show again, Rising Above Circumstances. Welcome back, Dale.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be asked back today. Very nice.
Always great to have you as I look at the books again and seeing, you know, how these books, as I said the last time, if you were not, you know, if you haven't watched it, watch our first segment, because she talks about how she created this cover that developed her from being broken into pieces into this beautiful, smiling, peaceful angel that she is. So watch our first segment for that part. Dale, the last time we spoke, I realized that we didn't go too much into the entrepreneur that you have become, because you have become this business guru that has done a lot with your life. And I have teenagers out there that might be struggling on, where do I start? What do I want to become? And, you know, who am I? Maybe let's start there.
Oh, I think that's an excellent suggestion, especially because that's part of your focus, is to help young women, men, teenagers to actualize their dreams and their goals.
Yes.
And sometimes if you're not lucky enough to have a lot of direction or assistance, whether it be monetary or parental, you have to really stand strong yourself to try to figure out the route that you're going to take. Mm-hmm. And in my case, because I went through some hard times as a youngster, I really had to discipline myself to not get into trouble, not have issues that was going to hold me back. However, when I did graduate high school, I was lost. Nobody ever said to me, do you want to go to college? What are you going to do? It was totally up to me to figure it all out. And I think that can be a very hard position to be in. However, I'm sure that there are many of you out there that are facing these kinds of obstacles. And with that in mind, you have to sort of develop an inner strength and realize that you're going to help yourself. I said in my previous interview that, well, it wouldn't be relevant to you, I hope not, drinking, but I did compare as I got older that I could fall off a bar stool dead drunk or forge ahead. And I said that I chose to forge ahead. But that goes in line with drugs or anything that will sabotage your development and progress. So I just will sketch a little bit of what my journey had become. I didn't know which way to turn, and I didn't really understand the world at large. I didn't have the correct tools to go out there. And nowadays, certainly it's more difficult. Many people who are formally educated don't even have the opportunity to acquire work so easily. But that being said, so as a youngster, I tried this and that. I became a secretary with not a lot of training and did a lot of training on the job. I became a real estate broker. None of those things really fit the bill for me. And then I went to nursing school, and it was a very difficult time in my life. My husband was very ill at home. I had little children. But again, I forged ahead, and I tried to have the resilience to make it work for me. And many times when I wanted to quit or say, why am I doing this? This is ridiculous. And I don't need it, but I stuck it out and I kept on hanging in there and hanging in there. And in fact, it prevailed that I was able to accomplish something. Thereby, it bolstered my self-esteem and made me feel better about myself. And that's something you can look to for your own selves. How will it make you feel better? And when you come to somebody like Dr. Stem and share your concerns and your problems, that's when it's wonderful to have her or any therapist that can help you hold your hand and try to guide you through where you should go. Well, after a lot of different trial and error events for me, I then said not another minute of trying to do what I thought society wanted me to do, but I'm going to set out and create my own business. By this point, I was already a nurse and I had the other background, and I took all my strengths that I saw, and weaknesses, believe me, they were in the bag too, and said, what can I do with all of this? And again, the determination and resilience, I said, I'm going to create this business for myself. And as I was telling the doctor, that was the love of my life. My children were, of course, the primary love of my life, but this became another child to me. And I educated myself, a lot of mistakes and tears. Could I really do this? And what was it that I did? When conventions and conferences and meetings came to the city, I would plan for them any special events they needed, tours, busing, any services that would enhance the quality of their meeting. And I did that for over 20 years. In addition to that, during that time, I spun off 2 other divisions of my company. And let me just repeat here, not knowing anything and never being educated in that area, it was a lot of trial and error. Well, the other 2 divisions I spun off was developing cultural tours for local Bostonians in and around New England. And then I also serviced corporations who had out-of-town or international visitors primarily, and would take them and do activities, sightseeing with them. Well, all that being said, it wasn't just the development, but it was such a rich life experience. Not only did I meet wonderful people and feel that I met the whole world, but it helped, again, build my own self-esteem and faith in myself. And that's what I'm trying to project here in this talk to you. It's worthy of going to seek help if you're a teenager or even a parent of a teenager who is struggling with, how can I help my child, or how can I help myself? I mean, talking to somebody very charming, Dr. Stem, here, or whomever you choose to, is such a wonderful vehicle to be able to rise above circumstances, which is what the essence of this talk is all about.
Yeah, and one of the things that we try to do with the Dr. Stem Show, whether it's our radio show or the TV show, because we do have the Dr. Stem radio show as well, is to make sure that we share the resources that people can tap into to help them out. And I realize here that you also worked with the North Shore Board of Juvenile Scholarship. This is the first time I'm hearing about, the scholarship, juvenile scholarship. So I think it's great that we have you. You can explain what that is and how someone can apply to get that scholarship.
Yes, it's a very worthwhile organization that offers funds to kids that are going off to college. They have to apply for the scholarship money for books is provided to them, and it is just a wonderful vehicle to assist them with their education. So that being said, they hold various charitable functions. I was just at a donor dinner for them raising funds.
Okay.
So that's one thing that it's been my pleasure to be involved in, because when I needed money and was very low on funds as a single mother raising children, I turned to them and they helped me. So I like to give back to society of what I was lucky enough to be a recipient of.
You're right. That's very good of you. So if someone wanted to apply for this, whether it's a youth out there that's watching or a parent, how would they go about applying for that scholarship?
Well, it is right under that, the North Shore Juvenile Aid Scholarship Fund. And with that, I'm not on that division where they actually send in the
The
letter,
application, okay.
the application. So they'd have to do a little research, but it's definitely available to students that have graduated and are going on.
And you know what? I like the fact that she said you have to do a little research, because a lot of people like to just have something handed to them, and guess what? This is actually being handed to you, and all you got to do is find the website, North Shore Board of Juvenile Scholarship, and apply, find out what they need, and apply for that free money that you can have all your books paid for. If you're not in the Massachusetts area, I'm sure in the states where you are, you will be able to find what scholarships they are. Once you Google, just go into Google and Google scholarships for college, scholarships for books, and that's what I like about, you know, having resources. You also volunteered for Big Sister. What is that?
Yes, that was also
Program.
a wonderful experience to me. I had to train and take a workshop to be able to assist children that needed a mentor,
Yes.
an older mentor. And it was a wonderful, rewarding experience to be able to work with children.
You know, that reminds me, we also had a show that we had right here on the Dr. STEM show. If you're in the North Shore area, we spoke to a lady, Keisha, who started a mentorship program. So in addition to Big Sister, we actually have Lakish, mentoring program that is right here in the North Shore. If you want to take a look at that, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our guest, who we have re-invited to the show, Dale Stanton.
The challenges facing our teens today mean that more than ever, we need to be there to support them and encourage them. The Dr. STEM Show is here to provide discussions about topics that will help promote healthy relationships, self-image, and success for teens, parents, and the community. Our young people can achieve more in life than they ever dreamed possible. The Dr. STEM Show, hosted by Dr. Stem Malatini, will foster these discussions and encourage your participation.
We are back with Dale Stanton, who is our guest today, talking about survival beyond circumstances. And I know you also work for the National Association of Women on the Rise. That sounds interesting.
Yes.
What
they,
is that about?
Again, address empowerment and helping women actualize their goals, and it's a very worthwhile organization that mentor and do various things that will help women get ahead.
So that's nationwide?
Yes,
Oh.
yes.
Interesting. That's what I like about this show. You get to know about all these other resources. So that's for you parents as well, because this is National Association of Women on the Rise. The Arizona Humanities Consortium for the Arts. What is that about?
Right. Because I go to Arizona half the year and have been introduced to the association, they address authors and speakers, and I've had the privilege of going there and speaking to the group.
Yes.
And again, they try to educate society and youth, and their goals are quite lofty and wonderful.
Excellent. You're a lifelong learner.
Yes.
I know this.
Yeah.
What are you studying now?
Well, I'm a student of Kabbalah, and I also go to Torah class every week that I possibly can. And it is such a joy for me to do that, learning and studying and understanding the world greater beyond myself.
What is Kabbalah and what is Torah?
Torah, Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism that was developed hundreds of years ago.
Okay.
And the Torah is the Bible passed down to not Moses, but it's what the Jewish people follow. And the spirit of it is to help you live your life out there according to Torah's teachings.
Very interesting, very interesting. What a journey. I see that your learning will be lifelong. Can you talk a little bit about lifelong learning, about, because students think that after high school, then why do I need to learn anything else? Or I'm not in school anymore if it's the parents. Why do I need to learn anymore? How important is learning or education or professional development as they talk about today?
Absolutely. I happen to be a student of lifelong learning. I think it's so important. It opens your eyes to the world, what's going on out there, and meeting all kinds of people, understanding them, and helping you to get along out there, whether it be in a work or a social setting. And I walk into a library and I say, oh my God, isn't it wonderful? Look at all the things here that I haven't read, and will there ever be enough time to learn it all? But a day at a time.
Interesting. She's always full of all these quotes and sayings. Before we started the show, I know you said, well, it's all about sharing, helping, doing, and being.
Yeah, absolutely. Being in the moment and seizing the moment and appreciating what this world has to offer. And I say I'm very grateful for all the wonderful things. One of the things of having had some difficulties in my life, I like to say, the miracle of the human spirit is that, paradoxically, the more broken you are, the more whole you have the chance to become.
You can say that again. I have not heard it. The more broken you are,
the more whole you have the chance to become. And I think that we spoke in our previous segment that
Yes.
we did together about Christopher Robin, who said to Winnie the Pooh, you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. And for all you young folks out there and parents of young folks, that's what you have to keep in mind. You can do it, and you can rise above any difficulties that you're facing.
You're right, because as you were saying, the more broken you are, the more that you could the more wholesome you can become. I'm thinking of someone watching and saying, what are you talking about? Do you mean the more struggles that I have, that's what's going to make me a better person? And the answer is actually yes.
Yes.
It makes you a better person.
Yes. You understand the pain and suffering. I think, if I'm correct, it was Aristotle said, through pain and suffering comes wisdom.
Yes.
Am I correct on that one?
Yes, I remember that quote. And I say to the teenagers out there, this is my famous quote for those teenagers that I've worked with. It's not what happens to you in life that matters. It's how you respond that matters. And I know a lot of kids usually get on me and they say, what are you talking about? And I'm talking about life will happen.
Yes.
Things will happen in your life.
And you take all that good and all that bad, or however, and you put them all together, and all of a sudden you come up with hey, I can do this, wonderful pot of gold.
Yes. There's an inner strength that just grows because of what you've gone through. There's an assertiveness that comes out when you have stepped out there with shame and guilt, and people look at you a different way and they talk about you and they have no idea where you're coming from. And all of a sudden, like Dale is here today, you just blossom. And you come out of this cocoon and you're this butterfly that is as bright as she is and, living the life that she has. And that's what we're talking about today. We are talking about rising above or beyond your circumstances. We're going to take another quick break and we'll be right back.
As a youth motivational speaker, author, and coach, Dr. Stem understands that in a world where today's youth and parents are jaded and disappointed by institutions and people they perceive as out of touch with the reality of their lives, motivation is a dose that is much needed. It's time to excel. Dr. Stem Malatini is a refreshing change from the typical speaker. Dr. Stem understands the pressures, heartaches, temptations, hopes, and dreams of the generation that is just now coming of age. Students listen in transfixed silence as she speaks with the clarity and confidence of someone who has worked with teens, parents, and teachers for over 20 years. Her high-energy school assembly programs create a defining moment for schools and provide an experience students never forget. To reserve your seat in one of her coaching sessions, purchase her books, or to book her services, email her at drstemmolitini@gmail.com or go to her website at www.drstem.org.
If you don't have the book that Dale wrote, The Hooker's Daughter, here is Dale telling you about where you can buy her book in all forms. That's what I like about it. She has it in all forms, so you have no excuse not to read this book. Where can they get the book?
Yes, you can purchase it from my website, www.thehookersdaughter.com, and I'll be happy to sign copy for you. You can also get it from Amazon. You can also from Infinity Publishing. And for tablet readers like Nook and Kindle, it's available that way.
Excellent. You know, I forgot when we started this, my assumption was that all of you will have watched that first segment. And if you are like me sometimes, I see a part 1 and a part 2, and I never get back to go back to the part 1. This is actually a part 2 segment of a show that we did before with Dale Stanton, who was our guest. And we were talking about The Hooker's Daughter. And people, when you hear The Hooker's Daughter, she said the last time, it's not hooking fish that we're talking about. And I thought that was hilarious when she said that. It's not hooking fish. She's actually talking about her life, that back in the days would have been a sad life to talk about. But she has strength and motivation and empowerment enough to come out here and in the whole world to write about how her mother was, as she calls it, a hooker. And another word for that is a prostitute. That means she brought people in the home that would pay her to have sex and take care of her family. And that's what we're talking about, The Hooker's Daughter. And we're talking about a daughter who grew up with that environment and still found a way to swim out of that. You know how in life they talk about sinking or swimming? Dale talks about how she swam out and became the butterfly or the woman, the mother, the grandmother that she is today.
I'd like to just interject that I almost called the book Baggage I Did Not Pack. And I did switch to this title, but if you think about in your lives, so much of what goes on is baggage that you might not have packed. And you have to discard it and enjoy your life in the present so that you don't waste it. You can't go back to the past, but you got to live in the moment and look forward to the future.
Interesting. You know, when you're going on a trip and you put everything that you want to wear, what you're saying is sometimes you get to where you're going and you find out that you've got all the stuff that you didn't pack or you didn't want to pack in there. And how do you deal with it? And my understanding is find the stuff that you want to wear and leave the other stuff that you don't want because you didn't pack it in the first place.
Right.
You didn't cause it. You didn't want it.
Right.
Interesting part. What message would you want our viewers to leave with after reading the book or after listening to this segment today, Dale?
In life, so much is attitude. And there's a quote, unfortunately I don't have it with me to be able to give it to you, but I recommend if you can look it up, by Charles Swindoll, a clergyman and writer, 1934. And he has a wonderful quote about attitude. How in life everything is having the right attitude. It doesn't matter what people say or do and how they feel, but more important about your going forth and living your life and having the right attitude.
You know what? It's one of those times where I could tell you what Charles Swindoll said because I know the quote, but I want to know who's actually listening and who's actually ready to make a change in their life and who's actually ready to live beyond their circumstances. So if you email me, again, our email will be at the end of the show or it will be at the bottom of the screen. Email me, drstemmolitini@gmail.com, and email me the quote by Charles Swindoll on attitude, and I will be able to give you a copy of my book. You can get one for the parent if you're a parent, or you can get one for the teenagers if you're teenagers. But I want to know, what is that quote that Charles Swindoll, how and what did he say about attitude? We're going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back.
How much difficulty do you have getting your employees or your customers to listen to the solutions you can offer? This may be one of the great frustrations in business. It's time to excel. Dr. Stem now offers solutions with her Soft Skills Leadership Training Program and the Women's Executive Leadership Training Program. To reserve your seat in one of her coaching sessions, purchase her books, or to book her services, email her at drstemmalattini@gmail.com. or go to her website at www.drstem.org.
Okay, so we're back again talking about how to survive beyond circumstances. I like when we were on break, Dale says to me, how did you think of that, to let the audience Google and try to find this? Because you know what, we're talking about surviving beyond circumstances. So your circumstances is you don't know this Charles Swindoll, and I thought, what a way to see how initiative that you're going to be and how you're going to take that initiative to take, hold of your life and to do what it is that you want to do. It hasn't been easy, as you heard from Dale. She's talking about how she didn't have any training, she didn't have anyone telling her what to do.
No tools.
No tools. And it didn't come that easy.
That's
but
right.
by you taking that extra chance, that opportunity, and finding means and ways of doing it, we have you as an author, a speaker. And, what else are you? Speaker, author, entrepreneur, I mean, everything, without her doing anything. So we were talking to her about the message that she wants the readers to grasp from her book, and we'll continue on that part.
Okay. Wounds and anxieties of the past often leave us scarred and feeling unworthy and defeated. Our lives are full of pitfalls. However, emotional pain is a phenomena which can enable us to grow. We can either be consumed by it or accept the past, seek the lessons that it holds, recognize the potential for growth, and become successful because of it. I feel that I can offer something to people who are suffering and struggling by giving you this message. I want to show that it is possible to overcome dire circumstances and inspire people not to be victims. So I think that if you can check in with yourself and see what was going to be best for you, you can make a journey that will be a rich one for your life. Because life does go very quickly, and it's not to be wasted or unappreciated.
Dale, I cannot thank you enough for coming to the show. Thank you again for your bravery, for finding the strength to share this with the world. And I want to thank your husband, who was able to make a visual about what his wife's story is about. Not only did he give us this cover, and when you buy the book, you'll be able to look at it in detail. You can see this little girl that was beyond bars, that was struggling, that was going through a whole lot of, stuff that was going on in her life, issues as people will call them. But she was able to come out, this beautiful lady that she came out. So I want to thank you for that. And you know what? When I was preparing for this show, I read the book. I went on her website, which I encourage you to do, to go on her website and look at the stuff that she has worked on. But as I was going through all that, I couldn't help but come up with the song Amazing Grace, and how amazing your life has turned out to be, and how amazing you are to have the courage to stand before the world and tell them that I'm not ashamed anymore. I'm not afraid anymore to talk about who I am, to talk about what my mother went through, because she did what she had to do.
Exactly.
I love it when you said, my mother had a good part about her.
Absolutely.
A lot of strength that I got in her. So I think for you listeners, and from her story, I encourage you to look at that good side of your life.
May I just say, this book isn't a book about condemnation or a mummy dearest, but it's a book about love, forgiveness, and triumph over one's demons. And that's how I like to feel that the message is in there.
It resonated. I felt it. I know the readers out there, when you read the book, you will see that all those are covered, that love and forgiveness is there. I'm going to take a minute, if you don't mind, just to read you the part of the Amazing Grace that I had, because we have the regular ones, but this one here says, your chains are gone. And I'm going to give this to you to keep.
Thank you so much.
Because I think, you know, as you go through and allowing others to share their story, to come out of the bonds, the chains that are preventing them to live their best life, that you will see how amazing your life has been. And the song says, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. It was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour that I first believed. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me, and like flood, his mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace. I hope that all of you that have listened and watched this show will have your own amazing grace, and that also your chains will be gone by reading this book, listening to this saga, and telling your own story. Once again, thank you.
Thank you. So lovely to be here with you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
kindness.
Appreciate it. Thank you.